Good afternoon, Coolest Coast. It is time for an episode of Book Banter on Coffee on the Coast. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Coffee on the Coast. We're here today for a book banter. That means Therese Horstketter is joining us from Manitowoc Public Library. Therese, I'm so happy to see you.
Hi, it's good to be here again.
I feel like recently
discussing books.
Just haven't had enough time lately to curl up with a book, but you've got some recommendations for us. Peeking ahead, I already know I can't wait to read some of them. So let's dive right in. This one, I love the cover. I immediately looked it up. I put it on my holds list. I cannot wait till it's available.
And this has been a really popular book. And I read it a little later. It came out in 22, actually.
Oh.
And it's a great book. It is a woman. It starts out with her already studying for her doctorate, and she is a chemist. And this is in the 60s, and she is brushed aside and abused by several men in power along the way. But along the way, she does meet someone that she has a wonderful relationship with, and they have a daughter. And all the lessons in chemistry comes from the thought that she ends up heading a cooking show. And it is because, yes, it's because she makes fantastic meals for her daughter, all based on chemistry, what things work together, how food, the tastes work out. And she's teaching her daughter in this manner as she grows also. But her daughter is a little unique, just like Elizabeth is. And she does not have a lot of friends at school, but one girl seems to have paired up with her, but it turns out she's eating her lunch. And so she goes to talk to this girl's dad and ends up, this is in a blurb, that she pretty much ends up doing this cooking show then. So she is a really unique character. There are many in this book, and the way people end up helping each other is wonderful. Her daughter is great, and it's just a really good book. And when you think, they talk about how she describes recipes as she's making them, but she's also encouraging women because of what she's gone through. Wonderful book.
I love it. You can see why I'm so excited to read it. So does she actually give you enough idea of the recipes that you could try some of the recipes at home?
No, didn't see the recipes so much. She talks, but it's that she uses more scientific instead of a cup of this, and it's very simple. She also gives the measurements, but she gives more the scientific names of things instead of just salt. And so the characters are just wonderful. It was a very easy book to get into and keep going with.
Okay, and so what I'm hearing too is the fact that it's got chemistry in the title shouldn't scare somebody off.
No, not at all. I mean, there's enough words in there, but nothing that I think should scare anybody off, really.
Okay, is this a first-time novel from Bonnie Jarmus?
Yes.
Okay.
Great. It said she had like 98 rejections before she ended up with this book and getting it published. So, and some of the things that happen in there are based on her life, what she's gone through getting to where she is.
The book is overall fiction, but there's some...
It's fiction, but when I was just looking a few things up before the show, it mentioned that some are based on experiences she had, and she added them in.
That probably makes it richer, right?
Yes,
when something is based on a real experience.
Yeah, it was really good read.
I think I have a quote here, although let me just see. Yeah, laugh out loud funny, shrewdly observant, and studded with a dazzling cast of supporting characters, Lessons in Chemistry is as original and vibrant as its protagonist.
Lots of unique characters, and they end up working well together in many different ways.
So you're saying they have chemistry together?
Yes, that too.
And when there's like a real positive zinger of a statement like that, it just makes me want to stop everything and start reading.
It was good, and it was one I had heard about for a long time, and I just had never gotten it home and really started it, and glad I finally did.
So we're approaching the holidays. Do you think that book might be a good stocking stuffer if somebody's looking for a gift for a reader?
Sure, definitely.
Nice. Okay, we've got a couple more books. Do you have a preference for which one we talk about next?
Oh, let's do Community Board.
Okay. Now, I looked for this one on Libby and I couldn't find it, so I don't know anything
Oh,
about Community Board by Tara Conklin.
I know she has had other books I have not read. This was a first for me with her, and it is a unique. It's a unique book. It is my favorites are mysteries and thrillers that move along pretty fast. This does not move along fast, but it keeps you going. And it's a woman in the middle of a separation from her husband. She decides, I'm going by mom and dad, they'll take care of me. And she gets there, and mom and dad have moved to a retirement community to try it.
Oh,
So
no.
she is left to take care of herself. But Community Board she ends up getting involved with that. An online resource for people to communicate in this smaller area. And she gets involved in both good and bad ways with the Community Board. And then dealing with her parents, because she feels kind of abandoned by them besides the separation from her husband. So, yeah, it's a growing experience and blending with other people experience. So, yeah, it's
Okay, so
it's different. It's different, but I thought it was good.
Community Board. Should I envision like a poster board, right? That's in an establishment, or is this an online kind of community
This
board?
is online, so it will be things like make sure you pick up your dog doo, and don't throw it in my garbage can, put it in your own. There will be some like that. And then others, it was a funny one. It was, for sale, 500 cases of corn. I don't like corn, and I accidentally ordered it online. So there's some funny ones, there's some really serious, and then trying not to let it get nasty kind of things. And so it's just how all these things work together. Her parents from a distance, and her marriage that is looking like it's not going to be any longer, and then how she's looking at where she's going to go from there.
So
So,
there's no murder?
no.
Good to know.
I know that shouldn't be a sad thing, but no, we'll just say there isn't as much excitement as some other books.
And is this a relatively new book?
I'm sorry, didn't
Oh,
quite.
is this a relatively new book? When was this released?
Community Board, when did it come out? It's been out for March of this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. In case viewers can't see, there's a little blurb at the top of the book, and it says, a brilliant, hilarious look at modern day community and the distance between who we are and who we say we are. Insightful, honest, and surprisingly sly. I loved this book.
Yeah, I thought it was good. Very different, but it's a nice mainstream fiction, and I think people will easily get into it.
Nice. Okay, very nice. Okay, so now do we bring on the murder? Let's see.
Well, one anyway. That would be Harlan Coben's. Oh, now that's the one. I will find you. Yes.
So there's this, I read this blurb when you sent the books yesterday, and it says, 5 years ago, an innocent man began a life sentence for murdering his own son. Today, he found out his son is still alive. What kind of a plot twist is that? Okay, tell us about I Will Find You by
Harlan
Harlan
Coben is a
Coben.
favorite. He has books that start, grab you, and you keep going. And this is just what it says there. A man was convicted of murdering his son, and his son was found murdered while his father was sleeping. and swears he did not do it, but he was found to be the one guilty of the murder, went to prison, um, divorce with the parents, and 5 years later, like it mentions, his sister-in-law walks in to visit him in prison and says she found pictures of his son online.
Like new
And
pictures.
even
Like,
though 5 years has passed, they both are still recognizing this boy as his son. So now he's in prison for life because of this. And then just think of all the things that you would first to try and find him. And then, well, first to try and be out of prison or find someone who can help you from there. And then how do you prove? And then, but somebody was murdered in his house.
oh.
So you think of all the things that go into this, and it's a good book.
So, how old was his son at the time? That
3,
okay.
young
Oh.
son.
So, if he's still alive, it was some other child?
So that's what you have to find out.
Oh. How do we feel at the end of this book?
It's things are tied up at the end. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
Without saying just where everybody ends at the end and saying too much. But yeah.
This sounds
And
like a book you wouldn't want a spoiler of.
Oh, sorry. Any book that has all of this going on, you may find some parts like, oh, that happened easier than it probably would have in real life, or, that kind of thing. But it's still a good book.
So it's a story. You have to go with it, kind of separate yourself from reality and accept what's
You
happening.
always have to have that little leeway.
Yeah. So Harlan Coben, is he a well-known author?
Oh, yes. Harlan Coben, he's got quite a few. And he does write with main character Myron Bolitar. I do not read that list. I read his standalone books. But you can read that whole series that he has on him. And now he writes young adult books. And those, the young adult ones are, I think, the nephew of that other character.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah.
Okay, I'm laughing because Tim commented. And when I read the comment in my mind, I thought it said, just read the book, Tina, as in he just finished reading the book. But then I realized he's saying, just read the book, Tina, instead of asking all the questions.
I know, that's what I thought when I read it too. Wow, he's fast. 5-minute read.
English is interesting. Cool. You've got one more on the docket for us today. Let's take a look at Dark Ride, a thriller by Lou Berney.
Dark Ride, I absolutely loved. Harlan Coben is always solid for me. This was a new author. He has a few books. I've never read him previously. And this one, for some reason, popped up on my radar, put it on hold, and just fell in love with it. Fell in love with the main character. It's a early 20-year-old man who is kind of drifting. He's working a couple part-time jobs, and he had been a foster child at one point. He is, his name is Hardy, but his family nicknamed him Hardly. And so that's what he really kind of goes by. But he happens to be somewhere in a public building, and he sees 2 kids sitting on a bench. And they are both just such quiet little kids. They're noticeable, around 6, 7 years old. And when he takes another look, he sees cigarette burns on them. Like 3 in a row on one child in one place, 3 in a row on the other child, not something that would have been done accidentally. And so he's very concerned and tries to do something to help these kids. He doesn't know who the parents are. He just kind of dives into it and tries to go to Child Protective Services. That seems to go nowhere. Tries to go again. He really just dives in and he wants to save these kids from whatever's happening. That's where the book goes from there. And he was just a wonderful character. And you don't really get to know the children, but they're also the 3 of them make up the center of this book. So it was, of course, hard at some points to think about what they're going through, but it was amazing what he kept at it to try and save these kids.
Wow. It's interesting to think it's hard to know even when to step in, right?
Yeah. And yeah, that was it. That was the part, putting him in that position for someone who's kind of drifting and not, being too into like his work or anything, and then to really throw himself into this so solidly.
So the cover says it's a thriller. Is that true then?
Mhm.
Okay.
It is, just because once you find out somewhat about the kids and their family life and people that he ends up running into in the course of this, yeah, there's a lot involved, some good and some bad, of course.
Okay.
But really, he was just, I don't know, he was such a kind of a relaxed character and knew that about himself, but just really dived into this.
And you said you loved this book.
I did. He was just a great character.
Nice. Nice. All right. So we've talked about today Dark Ride, a thriller by Lou Berney. We also talked about I Will Find You, a thriller by Harlan Coben. And then Community Board, a novel by Tara Conklin. And Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. Really nice selection, Therese.
All good books.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, sure. Really happy to. And if I can mention one really quick thing.
Sure.
Make note when you come in the library. We have staff picks right up front, but right now, especially with our beautiful trees in, we have a lot of our staff displays towards the back of the library. Make sure you take a tour around there. There's a good handful of us that put up displays, and mine, I'm highlighting because I'm here, that it's going to be, these are a few of my favorite things, tons of books and music and movies that I love, that I would love to give or have gotten for gifts. And so there'll be quite a few kind of suggestions on there too. A few that we've talked about, I'm sure.
Nice. Okay,
But yeah,
that's
check
awesome.
those displays out.
And it is definitely worth going to the library in any season, really, but especially in this season
Yep.
with all of the Evergleams that are on display. And we're going to find out about a special event that is coming up this weekend at the library. So,
Nice.
Therese, I'm going to thank you so much for being my guest today. Thank you for these
Thanks.
great book recommendations. I am going to let you go, and we are going to bring in Tim Gadzinski. Tim, how's it going?
It's going great. Thank you for having me on, Tina. Do you think that Therese's music recommendations are primarily about murder as well?
Could you go back to the display and let us know?
I'll find out. I'll do an expose on it.
So you are here because you've got something fun that you want to talk to us about. And
Yeah.
It is a holiday gathering with melodies, dancing, art, storytelling, all with the Evergleams happening at the library. Okay, tell us more.
Well, up until this year, ever since I came on to the library a little over 7 years ago, I noticed straight off that they didn't do anything to really set a holiday tone, for the library. There was some stuff in the kids department, but not really anything in general. So I started Holiday Melodies, which was every year we would have a bunch of singing groups into the library, except during COVID. I even tried to get it going then, but a lot of our groups are high school groups. So they were having trouble even getting the kids to come to class online to sing, much less putting on a concert online. So we missed that. But this year, when I was putting it together, if you take a step back, there is so much going on in our community creatively. There are so many people expressing their talents and their creative output differently that I felt, maybe we were short shrifting it by just having singing. And so I step back and I cast my net and see who I could bring in. And it's a day, it's a community day of celebrating creativity and creation during the holiday season. It
Love it.
basically is what it comes down to. And there are a ton of jewels, as I'm calling them, from the community that are performing, kaleidoscope dance. A group is performing Waltz of the Flowers at the library. There's someone going to be caroling along with Lynn on the ukulele, but they're going to be ASL caroling. They're not going to be no words, just American Sign Language. So, doing it that way, there's going to be the Tony Bauer Festivus Jazz Experience. There's going to be oratory storytelling by, as I put, a trio of local luminaries, but I will break it on your show that that trio of luminaries is Barb Bundy Yost, myself, and the young and dashing Ryan Morris of Ryan's on New York and Courthouse Pub Thing. So we're going to be doing some storytelling in the library. And then I don't think I'm leaving. Oh, yes, I am. This is great. Samantha Deely is a local artist, is going to be painting live. She's going to be creating a painting throughout the entire afternoon while it's going on. But the crown jewel, as I've been saying, of this is a string quartet from the Symphony Orchestra. A Manitowoc Symphony Orchestra will be performing from 2 to 3.
Oh,
So
cool.
instead of just kind of one, because when you have people singing, you have carol overlap. There's no way you can avoid it, not really. But this is just a wonderful afternoon to come into the library with the splendor of the Evergleam trees serving as a backdrop, and seeing all the wonderful things that people in our community are doing creatively.
Yeah. So, okay, this is happening this Sunday?
This Sunday, Sunday, December 3rd, from 1 to 4 at Manitowoc Public Library. From 1 to 4. And what's nice is I got in touch with the Green Bay Packers and they agreed to move their game to a night game, so there's no conflict. I mean, they're only playing the Chiefs, so it's not like it's a big deal or anything. And also, the weather is supposed to be pretty, non-good for doing anything outside. It's supposed to be kind of a rainy, drizzly, snowy mix, but nothing accumulating because it's going to be warm enough. So it's a great afternoon to just come in and bask in the warmth of all the community going on creatively and the Evergleams at the library.
Am I misremembering, or is there like a little fireplace in the library?
There is.
Yeah.
There is.
Cool.
Towards the back, tucked in towards the back under the staircase is a library. It's a library. Of course, it's a library, but there's also a fireplace.
Cool. Okay. And then tell us more about the storytelling. Are these like kind of classic Christmas stories?
Yes, they are stories that everyone will be familiar with. I don't want to tip our hand too much because this is somewhat akin to like the most G-rated version of the kind of theater I used to do in New York, where you show up and something is happening, but if you're watching somewhere else, another thing will be happening. So you take from it the story that you want to, not the storytelling, but you can take from the event what you would like. People will recognize the stories that are being told. They're definitely established classics, but just having them pop up in the middle of, nothing else really going on at the library or possibly overlapping with something, it'll just like give a new listen to what the story is telling.
How cool is Manitowoc Public Library?
Well, I mean, obviously the coolest. I mean, we're on the coolest coast. Would we be anything but the coolest? So, I mean, come on.
Thanks for not shirking.
I will not shirk. I shan't. I shan't shirk.
I shan't shirk.
I'm pretty proud that I'm saying all these words and they're not coming off bad. Like I'm not saying anything by mistake. Shan't shirk is not an easy thing to say.
You're on thin ice there.
I did want to bring up like in the initial the promo slide that you did for Therese and I appearing on the show. I like that Therese is from Manitowoc Public Library and Tim Gadzinski, just this guy, we found wandering on the street and brought in for no good reason.
I meant to take it off from under her name because I put it at the bottom. Whoops.
Yeah, and this guy with dyed orange hair, which I don't have. That was clearly clickbait.
But this dyed orange hair is so cool for the holidays because this is Mr. Heat Miser.
I loved it. I just didn't want to do the same thing 2 years in a row. Since I waited nearly 60 years to finally get my Heat Miser hair, I didn't want it to become something that was just, oh, look, Tim's dyeing his hair like Heat Miser again, so.
Yeah, or to put yourself in that box for now every year, like you
I
gotta
know.
do it, right?
When are you getting the Heat Miser hair? Oh, just let me live my life.
Cool. Well, I'm excited and I'm happy to let people know that the holiday gathering is happening this Sunday, December 3rd from 1 to 4 p.m. at Manitowoc Public Library. There are melodies, dancing, art, storytelling. Hey, are reindeer coming to the library this year too?
There are no reindeer at the library this year.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I think their union had issues with what was going on. I'm not sure. That's it. I don't know if reindeers have union or not, but no. Just taking a break from that because honestly, it always seems like the weather is dreadful. It's not like it's not hunker down dreadful, but it's not really conducive to taking pictures with the reindeer a lot of the times we do these things. So
yeah,
given the reindeer just an afternoon, prepare to tailgate for the Packer game at night.
Yeah.
And
strike reindeer from your mind. This is all inside, all cool arts.
Yep.
Holiday related here at the Manitowoc Public Library. My guest today, Timothy Andrew Gabriel Gadzinski. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a blast.
You've been watching Coffee on the Coast. I'm your host, Tina Prigge. We'll see you next time, everyone.